What I didn't know is that the fastest or one of the fastest growing niches in
Hmm.
books is sports romance,
Yeah.
specifically hockey.
I truly wish I could explain the hockey phenomenon piece. I can't because I'm not a hockey girly.
You're listening to Speakeasy from West Egg Ventures. I'm Amar.
And I'm Kailey.
But I kind of understand the romance, like novel side of it, I guess. There's also an F1 one that's blowing up. And I guess having been at NASCAR, I can understand that one a little bit better. But yeah, there's just this like onslaught of sports romance. And at first, I kind of thought this was all centered around Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, which is already kind of its own plot of a romance novel. I think there was two separate movies made about it that were basically based off of their story. But this actually started, I think it was 8 years ago that the first hockey romance books came out. I think the series is called Icebreaker. And since then, it's just been nonstop, different, like pun themed titles and sports romances based around different premises. And I think there's a lot coming up which is interesting to me, of actual industry members as the main characters. The F1 one that I'm thinking of is she's a sports reporter. She's essentially like an F1 pit reporter, and she falls in love, I guess, with one of the drivers. So it's just a very interesting take on romance. And I think part of it is just that there's kind of a lot of built in tropes to it, right? Like the workplace romance, there's like this forbidden love because you're really not supposed to date your coworkers. And it's not a good idea ever, but like you're just not supposed to do it. And then, of course, it's like athletes can feel very mysterious and like there's something below the surface there of what you're seeing. And especially if you're in the industry, I think you're seeing a different side of them too. So it's all of these tropes culminating into just this explosion of romance novels. But I see it on BookTok. So I know the girlies are reading them. I don't know where it came from.
It's bananas. I think one of the facts that I saw was that on like TikTok or BookTok, like the hashtag hockey romance has what, like almost 8 million weekly views. And this type of fiction, it's not written by journalists or sports writers. It's written by women who really have never watched hockey in their life, but
Yeah.
they're writing these like really these best-selling books, and they're flying off the shelves. I mean, I know like wherever I go in bookstores, there are these sections for like sports romances, and then they have romance nights where all these authors will come and like all these fans will. I mean, they've created such a niche audience for these books where I'm like, wow, I didn't even know these existed.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because I feel like it's a direct, I guess, I don't know, it's an output of the fact that women are really underutilized and underserved in the fan space of sports. And I think that is still true, even though we've made a lot of progress in how do we program specifically for women and female fans. But I just feel like there's really nothing like this in the space of entertainment, specifically made by sports properties directly for women. So they're kind of filling a gap that was needed, I think, in the sports side. I always think about and wonder how this translates into fandom in real life, right? Because I think, like you said, a lot of these books are written by people who have barely watched the sport. And I think in some of the F1 ones, being on the side of like the sport itself, when you're understanding how things work, you can sometimes read it and be like, well, that would never happen. Like you would actually never be allowed in that area of the stadium. So like that wouldn't make sense. But it's just like, that's not really the point of it. So I try to keep myself from doing that. But I do wonder how much this translates into actual fandom and engagement for the leagues and teams themselves. Because I have to think that if you are like reading 3 to 4 to 5 books about a really hot hockey player who is this super romantic person and is falling in love with somebody, I have to think you're going to try to like maybe tune into the Stanley Cup. I don't know if there's any relation, but I would love to dive into those analytics if they ever come out, because I have to know how this is translating.
It's so funny because if you look at, sort of romantic comedies as a genre, and I know these are not sort of romantic comedies, but
Yeah.
one of the great romantic comedies that people need to go watch is like The Cutting Edge, which was, I
Yeah.
don't know if you remember that. It's came out in like 1992 with like DB Sweeney as a
Yeah.
hockey player and Moira Kelly as a figure skater, and they sort of have this like opposites attract, slow burn. It's another term, slow burn. I think that
Yeah.
really people gravitate to. But that was the start of it, right? Like that's where like, and kind of building off that sort of ideal, protagonist and what is it? Romantasy is another
Yeah.
genre in books that's also, picked up, and it's sort of like the natural growth of where Twilight fans and Harry Potter fans have
Yeah.
matured into, so they're looking for that adult fulfillment in one way or another. But this, I mean, the numbers, I mean, if you think about it, I think it was like sales jumped in the last 3 years 50% every year in this specific genre. And that's nuts.
That is crazy. I think that Icebreaker book has sold 8 million copies or something like that. So, yeah, it's just a huge market right now. I would love to see teams and leagues lean into it. Like, I don't know exactly how they would be leaning into it, but in my mind, it's like, can we get authors to stadiums to host fun, girly book club nights? Can we like do a TikTok where, a player comes into the locker room and like someone's trying to hide the fact that they're reading one of these books? Like, I just think there's so many fun, like, content and event and like fan engagement plays that you can make off of this. But I don't know. I just haven't seen a ton of brands leaning into it, but I feel like they definitely should, because it is just, I don't think it's going to stop. I always wonder, like, why has no one really started to dive into other sports? Like, I'm trying to figure out what it is about hockey specifically over like basketball, football, whatever. Like, I'm sure there are those like one-off books, but I feel like hockey was really where it was born as like a concept and as a genre. And then now I'm just waiting to see other sports blossom out of it, mostly because I just don't know much about hockey. So I'm waiting to find a sport I know something about so I can start reading them. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, and I read recently that the like NHL fans, I think the league is actually dipping into this during the playoffs. So
Oh, nice.
I think they're answering the suggestion you made. But what's great is that this genre isn't going anywhere anytime soon. You're probably going to see more sports embracing this sort of concept,
Yeah,
and it'll be, I'm like, maybe I should write one of these. I don't know.
truly. Yeah. I mean, I think you definitely could. And I think about it sometimes where I'm like, I feel like there's an audience for NASCAR romantic fiction. I don't know if I'm the one to dive into that, but
Maybe you're the person to write this. Maybe this is like, I'll just cheer you on from afar.
I think it'd be really hard to put myself in the shoes of my main character, but it would be a really big creative exercise for me. But yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes and like where it gets into. And like one thing I was saying the other day, my husband watches a lot of WWE, and I don't know if you're familiar with any of the current like newer wrestlers, but Dom Mysterio, who is Rey Mysterio's son, has like a girlfriend in the WWE universe, and I'm not gonna break kayfabe, but he's actually married in real life, so I guess that is breaking kayfabe kind of. But like, I just imagine I'm like, that's a romance novel. I'm sorry, that's a romance novel where like this actual married wrestler has to pretend, for all intents and purposes, publicly that he's not married and that he's dating this really attractive other like wrestler that he's wrestling with, and so I'm just like, that's a romance novel to me.
Sports romance books are the equivalent of Christmas Hallmark movies
Yes,
in so
yes.
many ways. Like there's like this like industry that's now happening. So you got to get on that trend.
No, for sure. Because I feel like they're the same. I feel like Hallmark movies are great because they're easy to watch. It's easy to watch a lot of them in a single day if you just don't leave your couch. And then on top of that, it's like, that you're not in for like an Oscar winning production, but it's still good and entertaining nonetheless. And I feel like in a lot of ways, these romance novels are also that way. Like, this is not the next like great piece of classic fiction, but it certainly is entertaining. So here for it.
There's nothing wrong with comfort food.
No, for sure. I love it actually, because I think sometimes, especially these days, I need more like brain off activities. So the easier it is for me to get through a book, the better.
What's your favorite title?
Oh my God, hang on. There's so many good ones. Hang on, let me look them up because I was just. So, first of all, one of them is called Fangirl Down. Common Goal. I love that one. Um, Collide, that's a hockey one. What were the F1 ones? There was a good F1 ones. F1 romance novels. Let's
Yeah,
see.
you can have
Cross
fun with
the
me.
Line. Yeah, it's these are they're puns. They're puns. Yeah. It's a lot of puns.
And some of them are not PG.
Some of them are not PG. No. And some of them I think are meant to be PG, but I can't look at them as PG because I'm seeing the innuendos in them. So,
And yeah, we'll definitely explore this topic a little bit more. And if you have your own like favorite, sports romantasy that you want to share with us at some point, let us know.
yeah, I mean, look, I might be out here on Wattpad or something writing self-published romance books. We'll see.
Well, I have my own sports series here called Play the Game. Another plug for me.
Yeah.
There's very little romance in here.
These are very little.
My main character has a crush on this girl that's his like throughout, but that's about it.
Fair.
So, all right, this has been fun.